Hey folks, thanks for tuning into my video today. In this episode, I'm going to be discussing this recent revelation from NASA that the agency is on the verge of announcing that they've found life on Mars. The revelation comes from a top NASA scientist. This isn't some pencil pusher in a back office. The guy's name is Jim Green, and the revelation is fairly cryptic. I'm really not sure what angle NASA is coming from here. They usually have an angle. As many of you who've been following this stuff for many years, like myself, know, NASA hasn't been very forthcoming about what they've been doing up in space, as evidenced by the fact that we've heard from just dozens and dozens of military whistleblowers with top secret clearances that they're not telling us the truth about what's going on up there. And I tend to believe these guys over this kind of bureaucracy that NASA has morphed itself into. But anyway, I want to come over to this article here and show you exactly what I'm talking about. The scientist, like I said, his name is Jim Green. He just did an interview with The Sun, October 3rd, it says here. Headline, First Contact, question mark. NASA scientist says we're close to huge reveal about life on Mars and humanity isn't prepared for it. Now, I will have to agree with Mr. Green on that. However, if you scroll down in the article here, he kind of goes into the fact that this revelation is coming on the heels of this new rover mission, which they plan to launch sometime in the near future. They're going to land another rover on Mars and they're going to start drilling. And the guy here, this is his picture, pretty kind of cool looking guy there, yes. Anyway, looks like a scientist, but he's claiming that they're going to be drilling into the surface of Mars and that they're going to find some sort of microorganisms in the soil, that's going to be this kind of proof of life that they're going to reveal. Well, I'm not buying it. And the reason I'm not buying it is because I think the agency, as well as most of the major superpowers around the world, know damn well that there's life on other planets, that they've had proof of this for a long time, and that they're kind of leading us down the primrose path like they always have been, kind of treating us like children at this point. I think we're well past the fact that, I think people are pretty, I think they've accepted the fact that NASA's that there's bacteria and microorganisms in the soil and in a universe that's endless. So I don't think we really need to be coddled anymore about that. But that's what they're going to do. They're going to string this along as they can, because this information equals power, and the government usually doesn't give up power too easily unless it's pried from their hands, so to say. So they're going to keep stringing us along and giving us this bullshit about, we found some bacteria in the soil that may have harbored life a billion years ago or something like that, and that's total nonsense. Like I said, these military whistleblowers have made it pretty clear that there's life on other planets. There's different species that have been affecting our timeline since we got here. They're probably the reason that we are here. So this stuff about microorganisms in the soil is just complete bullshit. I've always believed that this was basically the way that they were going to disclose to us. Anyone who's been following this stuff lately, if you notice, the mainstream media is now talking about UFOs and aliens, stuff like that, where before it was just kind of an obscure subject, pretty much limited to social media and online forums of this UFO community. It's a small community of people. It's not very large. It's getting bigger as people are becoming a little more woke. But it's still fairly small. People still have their firm beliefs in religion and other things as to, beliefs about their own existence, how we got here, where we go when we die. Most people don't want to fuck with that right now. They're busy with their day-to-day lives. They're working, they're slaving, they've got kids, marriages, you name it. They don't want to bother with something like that right now. It's just too much. If you really sit down and think about it, it's got some disturbing implications if you believe some of the stuff that these military whistleblowers are talking about. So most people don't want to deal with that, and I totally understand that. But at some point, we will definitely have to. But I've always felt that that NASA or one of these other government agencies were going to reveal life on other planets in a similar way that this scientist just announced. They were going to first claim that they found these small microorganisms in the soil somewhere, in a rock somewhere that they feel could harbor life. And then maybe 10, 20 years later, what they're going to do is they're going to show a picture of like a plant on another planet. It's going to be mainstream media stuff, Fox News, CNN, or one of the other hacks that are, the kind of the government controlled propaganda machines that we have to listen to on a daily basis. They're going to show you like a plant, like a weird plant. It's going to be similar to a plant on Earth, but just a little bit different. And they're going to show that growing on some other planet that we've already landed on probably 60 years ago. And they're going to show you a plant, and then maybe in another 10 or 20 years after that, they're going to show you like an insect or something crawling on a plant or something like that. It's going to be a really slow drip, and they're really going to they're going to play this out for as long as they can, because whoever controls this information basically controls the world, if you really think about it. Once we do have a final reveal and we've actually got proof that we have other species that have been visiting the planet for probably millions of years, that's going to change the whole paradigm for people. People are going to go through a consciousness shift, an ascension, as I like to call it, and then all the rules of the game are going to be changed, and we're going to be moving into a new era. And the people that have been brainwashing us for so long are going to be, they're going to become fairly irrelevant, especially when we find out all the fucked up shit that they've been doing to keep this shit secret, and also a lot of the evil things they've been doing to silence people that try to talk about this stuff. I would imagine that we're already in communication with some of these species, and I can also almost guarantee you that some, but not all, of the species that this government has been in contact with are evil as fuck. So when we find out what they've been doing alongside these folks, in conjunction with, probably with some sort of type of treaty, people are going to be angry, and they're going to want answers. So just keep that in mind, as kind of this is one of the main reasons why they don't want this information coming out, and this is the reason for the slow drip, is because a bunch of people are going to be rotting their asses in fucking jail if justice, if we ever get justice. But anyway, I wanted to get into these with Mars here. We've got the reason I'm bringing up the picture of these three guys on the screen is because they do have a relation to Mars. These are three military whistleblowers. If you're a member of the UFO community, you're going to be familiar with Corey Goode there on the left. The other two, Jason Rice, Randy Kramer, you may not be so familiar with, but they all are basically telling a similar story. And this is up to you whether you want to believe this or not. I'm personally still on the fence. I don't know if these guys are double agents spreading misinformation mixed in with a little truth, if they're complete bullshit artists looking to capitalize on what's going on. I just don't know. But anyway, these guys are military whistleblowers, verified military whistleblowers. People have already researched their backgrounds. They're the real deal. They served in the armed forces. They all claim that they were part of this kind of this highly classified program that sent them to Mars to, I guess they weren't really carrying out missions. They were just basically serving on the planet. And they're really telling these tales of these just incredible stories and things that they were doing on the planet. They claim that around the end of World War II, Hitler had got a hold of this alien technology, that they were in contact with. Basically, I believe there are these gray aliens, I think is what they're alluding to, the kind of the typical gray aliens that most people see during these abduction experiences, and that people around the world have reported being in contact with when they have these really unusual, highly strange experiences. It's usually these gray aliens, short creatures, big, large, dark eyes, telepathic communication, stuff of that nature. Anyway, from how they explain it, Hitler was in contact with the species, which would make sense because he was basically on track to take over the world. And so if anyone was trying to reach out to someone of power or influence on this planet from another dimension or another universe, whatever, star system, it would have been him and the Reich. So they claim that he got a hold of the tech. The tech was shared with him. We had an incident, I don't remember the year, but the invasion in Washington, where they got the military out and they were shelling this fleet of glowing orbs that were hovering over the White House. Supposedly that was that those weren't actually aliens, that was Hitler's folks in these anti-gravity saucers that they had been able to get a hold of and recreate, and they were basically letting us know that what they had and what they were capable of doing. And if you want to research that, I believe they call it the invasion of DC or something like that. I think it was late 40s. And it's all well documented. We have, you can look at the pictures online. It's an entire fleet of these kind of glowing lights that were hovering over the White House. The military, I believe it was the Army, brought out a bunch of anti-aircraft guns and just shelled the living shit out of this fleet. Didn't even affect them at all. It wound up actually the heavy, they shelled this fleet for like 4 or 5 hours straight, and some of the stray rounds ended up actually killing some people who lived in the general vicinity when they came down. This is all well documented. We're not talking conspiracy here. It's just that you're not going to see this stuff on Fox News or CNN. They're not going to talk about this in the mainstream media because it's just too strange, and they have no explanation for it. So anyway, these guys have all claimed that they were working with these so-called Mars Germans, and basically the backstory behind that was at the end of the war, or around the end of the war, when Hitler acquired this tech, they were able to travel to the moon, Mars, and various other planets and basically colonize these places, set up bases, and that these people have been living and functioning up there the whole time. In fact, they claim that there's an entire generation of people who don't even know what's going on this planet. They were born on the moon. They were born on Mars. That's all that they know, and that these places have already been colonized by humans due to this tech that was kind of traded during the war. I don't know what was in it for these aliens when they gave Hitler the tech. That's why it leads me to believe that some, but not all, of the people that are species that are visiting this planet don't have our best intentions at heart, or they wouldn't have been dealing with the madman. You know what I mean? So if you want to research these guys, very interesting. Corey is a very interesting guy. Like I said, I don't want to defame anybody. I like all three of these guys. They seem like pretty cool cats. They're telling these amazing tales, and I want to believe it. I'm not sure if I do. It's possible that they're also double agents, and what they do sometimes when they want to, we may have some people in the military that are pushing back against the evil forces that are working inside of the intel agencies and some of these highly classified programs, and they may be threatening to reveal this stuff to the public if they don't start revealing it to us themselves. And so Corey, Jason, and Randy here may be double agents. And what I mean when I say that is they may be coming out and telling these wild tales and injecting some truth into their stories so that it becomes part of the human psyche. So when you hear their story, you go, oh, geez, of course Hitler didn't colonize Mars, and there's not people living on these moon bases and stuff like that. And if you tell this fantastical tale with a little bit of truth mixed into it, then people will be like, yeah, but maybe there is life on other planets. Maybe they're not living on the moon and Mars, but maybe in this vast universe that's endless, maybe there are some, their life did sprout or was seeded in these other solar systems, and they've been around for millions, possibly billions of years before we were even thought of, and have had a chance to evolve and develop this technology to traverse the stars, which is going to involve anti-gravity propulsion as well as a little bit of time travel. And look, we're a young species. We know almost nothing about where we came from and how we got here other than folklore and mythology. That's really all we know about ourselves. We don't have any answers, and no one's been able to give us any answers. So I would just urge people to keep an open mind and maybe start to accept the fact that there's people or species who've been around a hell of a lot longer than we have that may be closer to that answer than the folks out there running the show right now who are just feeding us all this garbage. So anyway, I just wanted to get into the Mars thing. The reason I pulled these guys up is because they, like I said, they claim to have been part of this top secret military program, and that they were stationed on Mars. So I don't know if any of this stuff is correlated, if this is the slow drip coming from these whistleblowers here as well as NASA. I don't know the significance of Mars, but obviously people are interested in it. So that's it. Thanks for watching.